everyone. This video is going to be about how if we want to spiritually evolve and spiritually progress in our individual self, we have to, as a collective, heal the planet. And the healing I'm talking about in this particular video is healing through traumatic experiences that happened on this planet, such as, the Civil War, the Holocaust, and to heal the residue that has been left over, that is now in our current, that is still, that it's like energy is still kind of circling around, in those regions where those traumatic kind of experiences happened. It's kind of, that energy, it's kind of just like a cloud, just kind of circling around because we haven't cleared it and we haven't healed it. So, like, the planet, it is like this complex grid system, and when we had these residue in these Pacific regions, this of traumatic experiences that happened maybe thousands or even centuries ago or even decades ago, if it's not healed, it kind of it leaves like a, it's just like with ourself, the earth is just this, it's basically just it's basic, I consider just, it is like a soul, but it's a different form than just what a soul as in me, you, type thing of, it's a different kind of form, it's a different manifestation. We are all manifestations, but the planet itself is I feel, it's not a larger manifestation, it's just a different form of a manifestation. And I feel like with that, just with ourselves, when we, have unhealed aspects within ourselves through situations maybe that happened in our lifetime, it leaves, it kind of feels like a weight. I don't know if any of you guys feel that, but I felt that when I had unforgiveness for my father, when I didn't heal that aspect, when I didn't heal that kind of, I moved on from that, it's almost like I resolved it, it's like, but I didn't really heal it. I just kind of like moved on and just kind of just let it sit there, kind of just let it sit there and I said I resolved it, but I didn't really resolve it because I didn't heal it. I was almost like kind of in this denial. It's like, I'm moving on, I forgive him, but it wasn't, without healing, it's kind of not really resolved. It's just, you're just letting it sit there. So with the planet, it's an organism, just like we are organisms, and it has like an energetic vibration, just as we have an energetic vibration. So when we leave these kind of situations, these traumatic things that happened, or these these negative kind of energetically low vibrational experiences that kind of happened, throughout the lifespan of this planet, and we just let it sit there, it kind of, like with us, it takes a toll. It takes a toll on the planet. It takes a toll, and if it's just sitting there, and we have like, literally, I just imagine like we have like these energetic kind of, I envision kind of like a, just like energy, like almost like a cloud, of just unresolved, kind of unhealed kind of energy just sitting there in these Pacific regions, all across the globe, and we're not really collectively healing it. We're kind of just like, we've resolved it, let's just move on. Let's not think about that, because no one really wants to think about that, no one really wants to think about something of 9/11, because that's just that brings up too much pain, and we don't want to think about it. We've resolved it, we resolved it, we resolved it, and let's move on. But it's just kind of like sitting there, and we have a lot of those kind of things around the whole globe, a lot of those energies just sitting there. So I feel like in order for us to, in this kind of, spiritual manifestation that we call the human body, in order for us to kind of individually, and because like I said, when we're individually raise our frequency, we naturally are sending out waves of opportunity for others, for others to really awaken themselves and to really raise their vibration. Because it's like when we raise our vibration and when we really become awake and really trying to just tap into our spiritual self, it's like we set out this like almost like I imagine like a satellite, or what is it, like not a satellite, what do you call it, almost like, you know, the radio waves at those radio stations, they send out waves, those little radio waves where it goes out miles and miles and miles far. It's kind of like that. When we do that, when we kind of really raise our vibration and really become awake and really start tapping into our fullest potential, our fullest potential within our spiritual self, where we're kind of thriving spiritually. We're really cleared, we've really detoxed, we've really cleared, like I would, you know, say cleared of karma and got out of that cycle of just, you know, the earthly cycle of, you know, kind of just kind of like almost like kind of repeating a lot of kind of the same kind of things over and over again, because it's like when you're like asleep and you're walking asleep, you know, just kind of like imagine like sleepwalking, you know, sleepwalkers, they're just kind of just like walking, you know, around, and it's like they're oblivious, and they sometimes, a lot of times, they go to the same exact thing every time they sleepwalk. You know, they walk to the park or something every single day, every single night. They're sleepwalking or something, you know. And it's kind of like that we've kind of been in that pattern. It's kind of like we've been sleepwalking through life, kind of oblivious. And when we're oblivious, we tend to we tend to do what we've always done type thing. You know, we tend to do what we always done because it's almost like a comfortable feeling. It's because it's like, it's kind of like in our safety zone when we're like, you know, when we're caught in that cycle. It's because we're kind of just doing what makes us feel safe, what we've already know, because we've already done it. So it's kind of like that, but that's just a whole nother topic of itself that I feel like but the thing about that is it's not, we choose to take part in that, you know. I feel like we've all choose to kind of take part in that kind of sleepwalking through life, oblivious, kind of just, you know, going in circles, because we know this is, you know, like the sleepwalker always goes to the park because it's the path that they know. It's the path that, you know, they've done over and over again. So, hey, you know, I feel safe continuing to do this path because it's in my safety net kind of thing. Because I've done this before. So I'm going to do it again, you know. Even if it's like, you know, even if it's like some experiences that, some lifetimes that I've, you know, some cycles are not so positive, you know. Like, I don't really believe in the whole, you know, I feel like it's just all experiences. There's no, like, this is positive and this is negative. It's just kind of everything we experience is an experience. And it's just the energy of it is either like the energy kind of like of that kind of experience that we kind of project, or we project as a collective or as in a group, or even as in like a partnership. The energy, it could be very low energy, it could be very high energy. But the thing about kind of like what you call, people would say, negative experiences, like for myself, you know, I know in particular lifetimes I have been, you know, raped and stuff in other lifetimes, many lifetimes, but I know that was for an experience. But the thing about that is that my energy, and I'll use an example of a cycle. For myself, I feel like I have been raped in more than one lifetime, kind of like I said, a cycle of repeating the same kind of situation over again and in other lifetimes. It's because of the fact, for myself, it's a lot of times it has to do with not healing it in that particular lifetime. So I sought to experience it again in another lifetime, because I wanted to really, it's almost like I don't know, this is weird, but it's almost like you take a test and you get an 80, And you're like, no, I want to take this again. I want to get 100. So it's kind of like that. It's like I did it again because I wanted to get 100. I wanted to successfully accomplish and overcome it. I wanted to successfully heal it. Not 80% heal it. I wanted to do 100% heal it. And it's like I wouldn't stop until I got that 100%, to healing it. Because it's like once I get 100%, I can move on to something else. Because it's like I feel like we all want to be the best we can be in something, It's like we don't want to just get an 80, we want to get 100 at something because we want to be the best. So that's just kind of a little bit about cycles, and I feel like we're actually getting out of that. And I feel like that has been a key thing that has been kind of going around in our planet for some time, that we're as we are waking up, not sleepwalking, kind of casually just walking through life oblivious like a sleepwalker, kind of just kind of just bumping into experiences, not really being aware that there's no positive or negative. It's just an experience to really, just an opportunity for that we've set for ourselves to really initiate something within ourselves, everything, and just the energy of ourself. If we're seeing it, it's just almost like our perception too. If we're seeing it as like an opportunity, even or as not even necessarily like an opportunity. I mean, it is an opportunity to really evolve, but it's more of just the experience. Like, for example, being raped in those many lifetimes, I now in this lifetime, I see that those experiences, they were not positive or negative, but they were just I don't even like saying the word lesson, because lesson seems of like a kind of like you learned your lesson, and that seems kind of like low vibration when I hear that comment or that quote or something. But it's just it really just it's just like an experience that we choose to take part in, because we just want to understand things. And the best way to understand something, to give guidance to somebody else, is if you went through it, Like, for psychologists, it's really hard to understand a child who, let's say, has been molested or beaten up by their father. It's really hard to understand it, have true compassion when you haven't gone through it yourself. Because when you've gone through it yourself, you can almost like put yourself in their shoes, and really like your perception almost it matches theirs, or somewhat close, of what, because you've been through it. And I feel like that's why we accumulate. It's kind of like data, almost like data, or like a file in our. We put a bunch of files in our cabinet, or file cabinet, because we want to kind of go back there to go look through our files when we come across things in our current life. Like when we see homeless, people, or when we see things that we are kind of like that's. Like, or alcoholism, that a lot of people seem unfavor, or, that's not really a favorable quality, or, even when we come across, people who beat their wives, and we know they do, or, even when we come across, incest, it's like, we can look in our file cabinet, and it's almost like we have all this information of things we've went through. We've accumulated all these experiences through our many lifetimes, a wide range of things, through maybe in one lifetime we experienced being homeless, or experienced incest, or experienced, being the beater or the beaten, in like a relationship, or, things of that such. And we can like look at it, and if we are awakened and we really are tapping into like our file cabinet with all our files of all our experiences, like there's this greater level of like compassion for these individuals that some of us just automatically judge, or we're like, or we kind of just kind of don't like even try to even like comprehend their situation, or we just kind of like, we just do a quick look, and then we're just like, oh, they're, or we just think that these individuals I don't know what it is, just like sometimes we say these individuals aren't spiritual, or these individuals, you know, they're, in a negative life, or they're in some negative entanglement, or I don't know what it is, but that what we do. But I'm just saying, with that, we have greater compassion. We have greater compassion when we can really tap into those files within ourselves, where we can say, wow, I went through that. Let me help you out. This is what I did to get my 100%. I might have not got my 100% in one particular lifetime, but I did get my 100% and successfully healing that situation here. This is what I did. Let me help you. Let me help you. Let me help you get your 100% in healing that situation. For example, with incest or rape, or, uh, or, or being, just things, all experiences. They don't necessarily have to be extreme experiences. Even experiences where, a child has, felt like an outcast, maybe in a particular lifetime. I know I felt like an outcast, or they're a child, they're brilliant, but their ideas don't really match what society's norms are, or values are. And I can say, here, let me help you. This is what I did. This is how I got my 100%. When I was, I would never one day I feel like we would say this, hey, and, in Roman times, I was a major philosopher, and I was very, shunned for my ideas, and, I was even killed. I was even murdered for really stepping out, and really stepping outside of the norms, and really breaking the norms. I was murdered for that. But, I overcame that, I healed that, but despite that, I still pursued it. And look at my philosophy, it's today. My philosophy 2015 it has had an effect on the planet. So despite all of those people, all of the things that may not see your ideas, realize that your ideas will have an effect on this planet. Kind of, just like with Rosa Parks and the bus seat, it's kind of like we can, it's almost like we can really help each other. But the only thing about that is we have to really be awakened to our file cabinet. If we're oblivious, and if we're not spiritually awakened, we can't really tap into that. We can't tap into that, because if we're oblivious to our spiritual self, we can't really, because that's something that really, we have to really be really connected with our core self. Really, the veil between us and our higher self has to be very thin, almost has to be non-existent, because to really tap into that, we really have to be aware of ourselves, and not just ourselves, our individual selves, in a narcissistic kind of level, but just aware of everything, just very self-aware of everything that's going on, very, very observant of everything that's taking place right now on the planet as a collective, a micro, macro level, because the macro level is where you'll find great awareness. The micro level, you'll find a lot of awareness within yourself, but at the macro level, you'll find tremendous awareness. A tremendous awareness, because you're tapping into the whole of it. The individual is, like I say, kind of like it's a manifestation. It has the power to tap into wonderful things, but when we truly try to step out of ourselves and really try to tap into the macro level of things, we'll find amazing things. We'll find amazing things. And kind of like a thing I liked that was from Alan Watts, this concept, or this kind of imagery that he was saying in a speech about how we are all, imagine source energy imagine there is a ball, kind of like a paper ball made out of like paper or something, and there's little holes in it, little pinholes, many poked holes in it, and inside is the source energy. It's almost like a sun circling within the ball, that's completely, paper ball, and the little holes, and out the little pinholes comes light. And imagine each pinhole is us, a human, individual person, each little hole. Imagine there's billions of holes around this little ball, this paper ball. The thing about those lights that come out of the pinhole, it is just, it is not the sun. It's almost like I don't know what kind of word I want to use. It's almost like it is almost like a manifestation, or just a projection of that sun, beaming out, so I always envision kind of like that, which is, I love that kind of visualization that Alan Watts kind of did, because I truly believe when we tap into the macro level, which is the sun, the core, we'll have access to all of those little pinholes, those billions of pinholes that are shooting light out, projecting light out of them. It will have access to all of that. But when we're just focused on our individual pinhole, or one little pinhole out of billions of pinholes, it's kind of, we have like information, we have access to things, but when we really go beyond our individual pinhole to the source of that projection, we'll find massive like knowledge, and massive macro level like knowledge, wisdom. But basically, kind of with the healing of the planet, we especially with the healing of the planet, we as a collective, there will be pain that will it's just like pain. For myself, these pain that comes up in myself that I don't know where it's coming from. I feel depressed, I feel angry, I don't know what I feel even sometimes suicidal. It's tremendous pain, like what I call dark night of the soul or something like that. And I feel it is, a lot of times I feel it's because I'm trying to individually progress and evolve my spiritual self, but it's almost like the residue of the planet that's kind of just sitting there, energy that hasn't been healed is just kind of sitting there in regions across the globe. It's almost like it's kind of like, you need to heal this. It's almost like beckoning to, like, you need to heal this before you can truly soar, because the planet, don't leave the planet behind. It's almost like, you may want to soar, but you can't leave the planet behind, because it is an organism and it's a major manifestation, that it's like we're all existing on. So if we want to really spiritually grow, we really have to collectively really try to heal the planet itself. And people are really truly starting to do it right now, but I feel like we need to do it more on a collective thing, because I feel like there's very small groups that are really trying to really heal the planet. I feel like we need to really come together, because all of us are very about progressing ourselves, but we're not, we're kind of just trying to just leave the planet behind. We're kind of just like, it will figure itself out. The planet will heal itself out. All that kind of just sitting there residue, it will figure itself out. I'm just going to work on myself and raise my vibration. But the thing about that is we're always going to have those kind of pains that come up that we have no idea where it comes from. Especially like for myself, I know that I incarnated here, I didn't have any kind of karma, because I came here to embody the master teacher in this particular lifetime, to really set forth change in this planet, to initiate, kind of spark something within individuals, like almost like turn a light on in people's, like in their self, and really light up their whole being and their whole, just the whole awareness, to really like turn a light bulb in a dark, or not even a dark room, just turn a light bulb on, just like, aha, type. I feel like I'm here to really be that, to be the aha moment in people and even massive groups. And I feel like with these pain, I feel like it's just a huge indicator to me when I really take a look at it, that it's pain that is coming from not necessarily me as an individual person, but from the collective, the planet. It's almost saying, hey, you need to heal, you need help, I need healing, I need help, I need assistance. and I want to progress with you, but I can't with these unhealed residue of stuff that's just sitting around. I need to get that cleaned, organized. I need to get that, I need to bring new energy to it. New energy, That's why the planet, I sometimes feel it is progressing, but it's progressing slower than what we are. We're progressing very fast, especially right now in this day and age, but the planet is still in this kind of slow, it's almost like in the funk, what you call like a little depressed kind of funk, where it wants to grow and it wants to progress and it wants to be healed and it wants to flourish, but it can't because we're kind of just like leaving it to kind of resolve itself or heal itself, I mean, the planet is like organism, it can't heal itself, but it's like we've kind of almost been ignoring it, and only small groups on our planet has really been really tapping into it, really aware that the planet needs help through, these environmental acts, these environmental policies and laws that we now have. But we need to even expand that to even more, to a collective thing, not a individual, like it just seems like very small groups, because I feel like if a collective we could really do things. The planet is just amazing grid work. This complex, like if you look at the planet as a whole, it is this complex grid system, almost like a mandala, what I imagine, but it with very complex kind of symbols, kind of complex symbols and shapes that are not even like shapes I imagine with shapes that are just have these infinite amount of dimensional kind of faces to it. It's like a unlimited kind of face, like cube or something, and it's kind of like that complex thing, but it's like the grid work, it's like with these little pockets of unhealed residue, it's kind of residue or this unhealed scenario, just for example, in Europe, when you look at Europe, like like an area, in Europe, it seems very relatively, Europe seems relatively small compared to the rest of the world, but the thing about grid work is it's all, like, it's all connected, like one area is connected to all other areas, so if you have these kind of unresolved things just sitting on a grid work, like on a grid, because, they're everywhere, everywhere, just everywhere, it kind of, it affects others, it affects others, kind of just like what you imagine stilts, that's holding up, like almost like a table. Imagine a table and one of the legs is like wobbly and about to break. It's shaky. It affects the whole table. Now the whole table is shaking. But if you fix that leg, then you can have a solid foundation again. So it's kind of like that. You have all these grids that are like wobbling because it's like unhealed residue, kind of like the table of the leg, but all we do is have to really resolve and heal, not just resolve, heal, and we can have a solid foundation, solid grid work, solid grid work that's, like the table, if the one leg is gonna, all, the table is just not on a solid kind of thing. So I hope you guys like this video, and I didn't want to make it too long, but I just really wanted to share that kind of with you guys. So bye.